Hi, my name is Kimberly and welcome back to my channel. It's Only Homeschooling. I'm a licensed professional counselor and a former middle school guidance counselor turned homeschool mom of one. Today, I'm going to share with you what I have learned over the years from our son's Occupational and Physical Therapy crew. If you like this video, please be sure to click the like button below and maybe consider subscribing to my channel. This lets YouTube know that you like this kind of content, and it will let the algorithm know that you want to see more content like it. So I was actually inspired to make this video by a friend and fellow homeschool mom, Leilani Melendez of Living with Eve. I'm going to put a card up here showing you the video that she made talking about what she learned from her child's physical therapist. So I thought I would share with you some of the things that I have learned from my child's experience through OT and PT over the past 7 years. Today, I'm going to talk with you about trusting your instincts, trusting that mama gut. So stay tuned to learn more. So a little bit of background. My son is 10. He began physical and occupational therapy when he was 2 years and 11 months. He has a history of developmental coordination disorder, also known as dyspraxia. He was recently diagnosed with dysgraphia, and he also has sensory integration dysfunction, or more commonly known as sensory processing disorder. Number two, the second thing that I have really learned from the therapy crew is to trust my instincts. Going all the way back from when my child was little before we even had our first evaluation, I knew something wasn't quite right with how our son was developing. I knew where there were some gaps and some things that we were missing, sort of like where he skipped traditional crawling and he would kind of scoot on his booty, which is really cute. But crawling is necessary. Crawling is a necessary developmental milestone to build all of that core strength and your arm strength. A lot of developmental milestones that I just didn't really think of until I started to get out more with him and go to play groups with other moms, because I don't have any other children, so I didn't have anyone to compare it to. We are always saying to our son, sorry kiddo, you're always the practice kid. We are always figuring it out with you. And while we laugh and it's funny, it's true. But it can also mean that I might have a few blind spots as a parent. Not the comparison trap, if you will, but more of, well, that's a little different. Is it different good? Is it different okay? Or is it different where I might need to see that there is a concern there? And if there is, how can I address it? Just so I can help my child. Not that there is any flaw in him by any means. He is fearfully and wonderfully made. But as a parent, it is my job to help provide him with tools for his toolbox to help him live his best life. And that's what I want to do. So trusting my instincts, kind of pressing with the pediatrician on, no, I know you say we keep adjusting for all of these developmental milestones since he's preemie, but something still just doesn't feel quite right in my mama gut. That's what led me down the journey of getting early assessment, early diagnosis, and early intervention. Nothing resonated with me the power more of how key that early intervention was than when a couple of years later, when we attended a wonderful program put on by the University of Arlington Developmental Motor Coordination Lab called Little Mavs. And I'll put a little card up here to a link from one of the videos I've got in my Got a Minute series, where I tell you about Little Mavs, this wonderful, wonderful program designed by Patricia Tamplain, Dr. Tamplain from the University of Texas at Arlington, where Priscilla Tamplain, sorry I said Patricia, where she, it's for early diagnosis for developmental coordination developmental coordination disorder. I'm going to spit that out in a minute, or DCD for short, and it provides intervention and research to help further the study of DCD. While DCD is a very commonly occurring diagnosis here, in general, not just here in the States, there's very little awareness of it. So we need more research and study devoted to it so we can have more resources for it and more interventions. And so insurance will cover it. One of the biggest hurdles we faced early on in our son's care is insurance did not cover the diagnosis, which is how we ended up having to pay for it out of pocket. But as our son was at Little Mavs, we attended for one semester, and it was an absolutely wonderful program. If you live in the DFW area and you have a child that struggles with gross or fine motor difficulties, or you know your child has DCD or symptoms of dyspraxia or sensory integration dysfunction, I cannot say enough wonderful things about the program. I'll put a link in the description box below so you can check it out. I hope more programs like it will catch on throughout the U.S. and maybe even global. Who knows where Dr. Tamplane will go with all of that. But what I began to notice as I talked to the other parents who had children there at the program, a lot of them were a little surprised that my son had DCD. They're like, is that what he's here for? Simply because same age peers, and now granted, DCD, just like any other diagnosis, has a spectrum and can affect kids differently with different levels of severity. But because our son had early intervention, consistent intervention, and we worked with him at home a lot, he was much further along when compared to DCD peers. He was doing a little bit better because he had had a lot of more intervention early on because we had the diagnosis earlier. A lot of these parents didn't know their child had this diagnosis. In fact, for the majority of parents, the diagnosis does not, for the majority of kids, a lot of times it doesn't get diagnosed until the kids start school around age 5, because that's when they start to notice the fine motor struggles and the gross motor struggles that go along with it when you start doing formal things like handwriting, or if they're in a class with PE with other students. That's when the difference is when they're compared to same age peers without developmental delay. You can see the gap is quite significant then. But the gap for my son with DCD, who had had lots of intervention, compared to other kids, his peers with DCD who had not had intervention, was significant as well. He was not on the same level and will probably never be on the same level as peers without DCD, but he had made wonderful strides. So trust your instincts. Follow those instincts. If you know your child better than anyone else. I don't care if we're talking about MD, PhD, it doesn't matter. You know your child. Trust that mama gut. And don't forget to look out for these videos coming up in the rest of our vlog series on lessons and wisdom I have learned from our OT PT crew.